best way to get good at making fires is to make a lot of fires. Right? So we get good at it by doing it, by practicing it, by going out on days like today where it poured last night, by going out on days where it's cold and it's rainy and it's windy, going in different environments, because this environment here in this backyard is going to be different from the coastal environment, going to be different from the mountains, going to be different from the fields. Every environment, every time of year, every type of weather pattern before and present is going to influence our fire making challenge and abilities. So I'm really glad that it rained all day yesterday, because it's going to make today's challenge more, it's going to be more opportunities for you guys to learn. There's no failure with fire.
Yes. A dumb question, but why not, instead of struggling, when you're going on a trip, you know that you have to take with you stuff like disinfecting water, blah, blah, blah. Why not to take a lighter?
Yeah, I have one in my pocket at all times usually.
What if it falls off a cliff into a pond?
Yeah, the lighter is...
Take it apart and fix it.
Yeah.
You know, it works.
I think I'm kidding you, but that's what we teach.
Yeah, right. Dry it out and fix it, right.
Yeah, or it could get wet. The other thing is that we're going to be doing fire with matches this first. And after we use matches, we're going to move to primitive method. And the primitive method, to me, is there's lots of lessons involved with it. It's not just, oh crap, what if my matches get wet? What am I going to do? Bow drill and hand drill and strap drill and mouth drill and chest drill and leg drill and pump drill and fire saw and fire thong. All of these things are ways to increase our awareness of the natural landscape. They teach us things like determination, perseverance, things like frustration. They teach us about tree species and topography and elevation changes and southern facing exposure. They teach us about decomposition of wood and how moisture content in wood. They teach us about so many things. You become a naturalist after doing bow drill off the landscape for years. You walk through the woods with what I call a different set of goggles on, or a different set of lens that you see the world through. When I walk through the woods and I'm looking for fire, I put on my fire goggles, and is what I call it, and I'm looking around and I'm looking for specific things, and I'm open to whatever's there. And I'm being led by the landscape to higher is drier, right? Higher elevations. I'm looking for those southern facing exposures. You can get a sense of, oh, this area feels wet. You know, I'm not going to pick my fire stuff here. I'm going to be walking uphill. There's a bunch of different tricks on what to do. We start people with match fires because it's basic. You don't want to jump ahead too far to the bow drill, get a coal, and you don't know what to do with it. That's no good. A coal is no good to anybody if they can't make it into flame, where you can warm up your shelter, you can warm up your body, you can dry out your clothes, you can cook your food, all those things that fire gives us. If you don't know how to make a fire with matches, the bow drill is pretty useless. So we start people with bow drill. And there's a million...
Bow drill?
Yeah, we're going to be going over it. It's a primitive way to start a fire.
Okay, that's not the niche.
We're going to do that after this. So there's a million different ways to start a fire. Every landscape has handfuls of options of what's the superior fire lighting source on that landscape. There's things like fat wood, there's things like birch bark, pine resin, all of these flammable things on the landscape that are going to be accelerants to making fire. So we have accelerants like birch bark, which I'm going to show you today. And then we have things called tinder. And now tinder is anything from hair to matchstick thickness. We're looking for, you know, these little branches here. I call them twiggy twigs. It's my botanical term. There's fir twiggy twigs. There's spruce twiggy twigs. There's hemlock twiggy twigs. And I have my preferences for all of these. And so on a wet day, I'll get a whole bunch of these and bundle them together. And what that's going to do is it gives it edges and surface area. So if I have, like, let's say a whole bundle of these, you know, 100 of these, compared to a stick that's just as thick, then, you know, these are going to light when this isn't, because it has all those little edges inside of it.
How do you call them?
This is twiggy twig.
Twiggy twig.
There's branchy branches too. You know? This is a branchy branch. This is a twiggy twig. So I'm just gonna go over some really quick things, and then, like I keep saying, the best way to get good at it is to go out on the landscape and take a look around. You know, you'll find things. A beginner who's never lit a fire before may find things on the landscape that is drier and fluffier and more flammable than things that I pick up every day, because I'm patterned on looking for certain things. But really, going out there with a beginner's mind and letting go of everything you know about making fires, everything you think you know, and just looking for things that have certain characteristics. So some basic characteristics or basic fire law is don't harvest anything off of the ground. Higher is drier. Everything's going to be wet on the ground, especially in Maine. There are places you can go in the country where, in certain times of year, even in this part of the country, where yeah, you could just pick up a handful of leaves and throw a match to it, and then you can start a fire. And once you get good at making fire, you can read the landscape and be like, oh, these leaves are crumbly. I don't have to spend a half hour getting twiggy twigs. I can just grab stuff off the ground and make a fire just from what's right around here. But if it's rained like within the past week or so in Maine, then you can't do that. So don't gather anything off the ground. Higher is drier. That's fire law. The other law is if you can't snap it, then scrap it. So right here, see that pop? Snap. Keep this one. It's pretty good. If it snaps all the way through without making that a split there, that's even better. So what I do is I'll just go through and I'll pick all these little fir twigs off. Twiggy twigs? Twiggy twigs, okay. And you can do this in an absolute downpour. And it will still work if you have enough experience and patience to make it work.
What is the type of wood that you like the best?
This is called balsam fir.
Oh, what's the other guy?
This is birch.
Birch is the best?
Yeah, I'll show you how it burns. It burns really well. For the fire challenges today, we're going to have a few different fire challenges where you need to get a fire going. For the Pathfinder guys, I don't want you using birch bark or anything from your pack.
No lighters.
I'll give you matches, unless you want to use your ferro rods.
Or fire.
I'm going to take my time. I'm going to observe.
Pathfinder is a maker
on,
of
that's so
a
fun.
store. What is
You gotta play, man.
That's the name of their school. Dude, this is called, trust me, I play with fire
It's a maker, I've never heard of.
so many times.
So this is the bundle that I got off of one
I
brand.
guess you can buy all
But
that.
I would, if I was going to go start a fire today, I would get a lot more of these. This is just 2 branches that I grabbed real quick just for demonstration, but I would gather 5, 10, 20 times this amount, maybe 50 times this amount on certain days, and just get big old bundles of this little stuff here, these twiggy twigs. Now if I put a flame to this, you'll watch it, it might go up, it's wet, it poured last night, and this isn't supposed to see how it just went out.
Right.
It's kind of like, it'll go, but it's not going to stay. So, what do? We take this birch bark here. This birch bark has layers to it. See how it's kind of splits?
Mm-hmm.
I'll peel it to thinner pieces. Peel it like this. Crush it up a little bit. And I'll take this and watch the difference.
Whoa.
So I'll use that to light this.
So there's some oil in it or something?
Yes, there is.
It's still didn't
Pretty good,
get it.
huh?
Didn't happen immediately. The twigs.
Yep.
Wow.
And then I'll just start adding more twigs all around it. Big bundles of twigs. Put more birch bark in there. And you get a fire going in the pouring rain. I could take this, dry birch bark, this is good birch bark, dunk it right into a bucket of water, 5-gallon bucket, wave it around, soak it up, shake it off, put a lighter to it, and it'll burn. and his stuff is phenomenal. So if you're lost in the woods and you need a fire, when I'm hiking in the woods, before I get lost, I see some nice birch bark,
You collect them.
and I just grab some and I stick it in my back pocket and I forget I even have it. I find birch bark in all my pockets, you know, in all my clothing. I go to the laundromat and like pulling birch bark out everywhere. It's just a good habit to get into, and it's not about like harvesting a whole bunch of it, just a few pieces of it here and there, put in your pocket, you're ready to go. If you need a fire, you have fire. If you have the ignition source, you know, lighter, matches or something. Did you know about birch bark before? Yeah.
I'm familiar with it, yeah.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
It's definitely your friend.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, with that being said, it becomes a crutch. If you want to develop your skills making fire, birch bark becomes a crutch because you rely on it. You end up using only birch bark to get your fires going. And on days like today, it's a great challenge to go out there with one match and tell yourself not going to use birch bark. So it really hones your skills. You do that time and time again over months and years and different seasons, and before you know it, you're starting to get confident in your fire lighting skills, which at that point is when you start failing a whole bunch because you're confident. But the point is that if you only use birch bark, you're going to stunt your growth with fire making skills. You know, if you want to be good at fire making, you got to get beyond the birch bark, get beyond the fat wood, get beyond the pine resins, get beyond all of these accelerants, and they're always there if you need them, hopefully. But if you only work with birch bark, and you go to an area where there's no birch bark, oh crap, I thought I knew how to light fires.
Yeah. Now you can get, I buy fat wood at the store, but where the heck does it come from? Is it like stumps or something?
I would ask one of these Pathfinder guys at some point there.
A lot of the resins will collect in stumps of old pine trees.
Yeah.
If you look in where the branches come together onto the trunk,
Yeah.
if you actually snap that branch off, usually it'll pool right in where it connects into the trunk of the tree. And you just take it and smell it, and you'll smell that turpentine, pine solly smell.
Yeah.
And you'll get high concentrations of it. A down tree, I just did a one-stick fire. We do what's known as a one-stick fire. You probably do it too.
Yeah.
And I found a tree that was down, a nice, nice pine that was down. It's been on the ground, or not on the ground. It's up off the ground, so it's still hanging dead. It hasn't been in contact, collecting moisture. I cut a section like this. I broke that stick, one stick down, into making everything that I needed, everything that he just talked about, all the pieces and components to make my fire, right down to using the fat wood that I scraped out of it. You take the back of your knife and just scrape it and make it into like a little, well, it's not powder, but little tiny shavings, because it's very sticky.
Sure.
And use that.
Want me to demonstrate it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great.